A warm welcome to all the participants from different parts of the world. Nina already introduced the topic. So I'm heading the Andhra Pradesh Community Managed Natural Farming Program. And this meets three objectives: farmers' livelihoods, health of citizens, and planetary health. So it's essentially securing our common future. And given the current climate emergency, we need to find solutions fast. So you're all aware that there are multiple emergencies: farmers' distress, the consumer food plate itself, in terms of food scarcity, chemical residues in the food, lack of micronutrients, and then the huge environment crisis. And I think the whole training or the series of workshops are around soil. So loss of soil organic matter. In fact, I think we should declare a soil emergency everywhere in the world. Water stress, the water emergency, and heat waves. 2023 is slated to be the hottest year on record. And loss of biodiversity, increasing water and air pollution. And so climate emergency is making all this worse. And you see who is bearing the brunt. So farmers are bearing the brunt, but at the same time, the way we are doing farming is also causing climate change, is biggest cause of climate, or among the biggest cause of climate change. And as you can see in the diagram, every country is affected by this. And the soil erosion is also equally alarming in every country. And the loss of soil organic matter is on account of the about 8 factors you can see on the left side: deforestation, forest fires, burning of crop residues, ploughing, especially deep ploughing, and keeping lands fallow. So barren lands themselves are huge emitters of carbon dioxide. Overgrazing, excess irrigation, wind and water erosion, and most importantly, over the last 60, 70 years, the use of synthetic biocides, chemical fertilizers, and pesticides. So all these eight forces are, leading us to this crisis, and this crisis is worsening day after day, not year after year, but every day. Now, is there a solution? And if so, what is that solution? So what we feel very strongly is that Mother Nature has a solution. We need to interpret that. So farming in harmony with nature is the solution for these multiple emergencies. So these are not distinct, separate emergencies. They're all interrelated. And therefore, in our opinion, we should find a common solution which tackles all these problems. You may say it is impossible, but we find that if we are able to mimic nature, then we find a cross-cutting solution, a solution for all the problems. It's not a silo-based solution. Biodiversity has a different solution. Crop productivity has a different solution. Consumer health has a different solution. We don't believe in that. We believe that if you are able to fix the core problem by going into the causes, all other problems get solved. So therefore, natural farming or regenerative agriculture or agroecology or organic farming, so it's a holistic land management practice that leverages the power of photosynthesis in plants to close the carbon cycle and build soil health, crop resilience, and nutrient density. So what I'm presenting here is a paradigm shift, because people, in chemical agriculture, people feel that you have to put nutrients synthetically to sort of take care of the gap after each harvest. And those who are practicing organic input-based farming think that organic inputs need to be added instead of synthetic inputs. So I just want to spend 1 or 2 minutes in how what we are doing is a doesn't require any use of fertilizers, either chemical fertilizers or organic fertilizers. There is no need, even 1 gram of chemical or organic fertilizer is not required. And we use the principles of nature, how plants, because plants don't require anybody. Plants are able to produce everything by themselves. So if you see the photosynthesis process, because that is the basis for life, so this process is converting solar energy into food energy. So in the presence of sunlight, water and CO2 are combined into sugars by the leaf. And of the 100 units of food produced by the leaf, 40% is used by the shoot system, the above ground biomass. 30% is stored in the roots, and 30% sugars are pushed into the soil as root exudates. And why is the plant making the food with great expenditure of energy, and why is it pushing 60% below ground? 30% into the root system, that is understandable, but why push 30% into the ground? And that is where the plant is so clever. The food is for the microbes, bacteria, fungi, many invisible microbes, and all. So what is our core principle? All nutrients required by plants for thousands of years are available in the soil, in the air, in water. What is lacking is the soil biology to make the nutrients which are already present, make them bioavailable. So we are only using that principle. So once soil biology is activated, or it's in an optimal condition, then the plants are able to get the nutrients automatically by feeding the microbes. So it's not a one-way process. It's not that the plant is depleting nutrients. No, the plant is feeding the microbes, and in turn, the microbes are feeding the plant. So it's a circularity in that sense. So as you can see, in nature, in the forest area, for instance, nobody applies any fertilizers, but still there are trees, it's green, they're harnessing water, they're taking all the nutrients they require. So we're just exploiting, or we're just adopting that principle in our work. So if you have good amount of photosynthesis over every acre of land, then you are able to activate diverse microbes, and the plants are able to get all the 40, 50, 60 nutrients they require in a very efficient manner, right quantity and at the right time. So most important, activation of soil biology enables plants to harness the nutrients that they require. Secondly, and this is another very important role, the microbes are also responsible for the water cycle that is created underground. So they create soil structure, they ensure increase in soil porosity, and carbon into the soil means greater water holding capacity. And then this natural farming, this process also results in soil carbon sequestration. So about the soil structure and water conservation, if you can see here, our soils on account of low soil organic matter are highly non-permeable, non-porous. So you can see in the center, the soil biology makes the greater soil biology makes the soil aggregates, micro aggregates, macro aggregates. And so good quality soil means 50% is air. So once you have good quality porous soil and soil with carbon, so the water, the rain that falls on the ground, bulk of it will go into the soil, and then it will be held by the soil. And the third one, which is a very interesting phenomenon, which we have been able to discover, exploit is harnessing water vapor for irrigation. Sounds unbelievable, but that is true. We're able to do that. And now, based on these principles of Mother Nature, we have evolved our general principles, what we call as universal principles of natural farming. And it stems from the way Mother Nature operates. So therefore, the first principle is to cover the soil with crops. Therefore, maximize photosynthesis for 365 days. That means every day there must be, throughout the year, the soil should be covered with crops. And there should be diverse crops. The greater the diversity, the better. Because crop diversity means you're able to activate diverse microbiota. Diverse microbiota means all the nutrients that all the crops above ground require are made available by this biodiversity. And once you have greater biodiversity above ground in terms of crops, you also have biodiversity in the form of pollinators, in the form of insects, birds. So just by following this principle, you are able to recreate biodiversity above ground, below ground, plants and animals. The third one is to keep the soil covered with crop residues whenever living plants are not there. Fourth, minimal disturbance of soils, minimize tillage so that the soil structure is not affected. Then we recommend to farmers to use their own seeds because it's also, I think many of you may be aware that scientists have now discovered that the seeds have their own microbiome. So the core microbiome, so the seed itself is, the plant itself is modifying the seed based on the microbiome in the soil. Integrating animals into farming. Then we use biostimulants made from cow dung and other natural products. So these are not fertilizers. They are meant to trigger soil biology. And then we use botanical pesticides for pest management. So our ninth principle is no synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, weedicides. So these are the 9 principles that we take to the field, and it takes time to, for the farmers to internalize that. So this is about crop diversity, polycropping system for every major crop. We have, crop associations, and then we also have a relay cropping sequence. Then this is very important. This is a biological stimulant. It is a seed coating. So we coat the seed with, microbial coating made from cow dung, cow urine, fermented cow dung for 12 hours, then a bit of soil. So this is sprinkled on the seed. So this provides a microbial coating to the seeds, which helps in better germination, which helps in preventing attacks on the seed. And this is very, very essential. The second one is a soil amendment. It's a long name, Gana Jivamrita. So made from cow dung, cow urine, jaggery or molasses, lentil flour, and a bit of soil. So this is, fermented for 5-7 days, and then it is, stored in shade. It can be used up to 3 to 6 months. So this is applied at the time of sowing, along with the seed. Then we have a liquid inoculum, same ingredients, which is used after the plants have germinated. Then there are some more inoculants, biostimulants, which are used when the plants move into a flowering stage. So this liquid inoculum is both a foliar spray, as you can see on the top, and also applied to the root zone, alternate applications. So as you can see, right from when the seed is sown, then along with the seed, when the seed has germinated, when the seed moves to a flowering stage, fruiting stage, grain formation stage, there is a microbial cover throughout different stages of the crop. But mind you, these are not fertilizers. We require hardly 5% of what is typically used as biofertilizers. So it's very convenient for farmers to use this. Then we also have botanical pesticides. There are many formulations, 150, 200 different formulations, depending on the crop, depending on its stage, and depending on the pest attack. But we encourage farmers to go in for crop biodiversity so that the biodiversity itself manages pests rather than apply botanical pesticides. I mean, a botanical pesticide is like a last resort. But first one is basically crop biodiversity. And also we find when the soil becomes healthy, there is less pest attack. Then this is a very important innovation. This is seed pelletization with bioinoculum and clay powder. This enables us to sow under dry conditions. So we don't have to wait for rainfall. We sow the seeds first and every drop of rain then counts. So this is what is leading to a 365 days green cover. And this is our scaling up. As Neena mentioned, we started the program in 2015 in terms of planning, strategizing, brainstorming. But actual work started in 2016. We enrolled 40,000 farmers in the first year, and that went up 21 times last year. We reached out to 851,000 farmers. This year we are more ambitious, 1.2 million farmers is our target. And we are now present in 27% villages of the state, and 14% farmers are enrolled, and 6% of area is coming under natural farming. But please remember, this transition takes 3 to 5 years. So the farmers need hand-holding support for that period. And we don't offer any cash incentive during the transition period. And neither do we tell the farmers that we'll provide them a market premium after transition. So they get into it because of the impacts it has for them, for incomes, for resilience. So what are the results of this work? What kind of impacts are there? So we do independent assessment, socio-economic assessment. These are independent assessment, very large samples. So we do 2 times for the 2 seasons every year. And what we find that cost reduction is very significant. Yield differences are not at all significant. So it's a myth that the yields go down. And many cases, the yields are actually much higher. And the yield increases year after year. And because of the income from the intercrops, so the cost of the main crop is basically recovered by many farmers from the revenue from the intercrops. And as a result, there are significant increases in net income for the farmers. You also please remember that in India and in Andhra Pradesh, 86% of our farmers are small and marginal farmers. Our per capita holding is 1 hectare. These are, I'll just skip with our major crops, and you can see that our yields have not gone down. You can see for all the major crops except for chilies. So there is actually yield increase for all the crops. There is cost reduction for all the crops except for one, and therefore there is very significant income increase, 30% to 300%, 300% in case of cotton. Then this is our second crop, similar results. Then we see tremendous improvement in biodiversity. Earthworm count has gone up, pollinators count has gone up. And this is resilience to, you can see here, resilience to floods. And the crop water requirement has come down very significantly. We find on an average around 50% reduction in crop water requirement. So first year it may be some 15–20%, but by third year or fourth year, the crop water requirement is hardly 50, reduces very significantly. It's about 50%. We are having some independent assessment of this. And then we have a 365 days green cover concept even in semi-arid areas. You can see here a lady farmer. Her land was fallow for about 8 years. Then 3 years ago, following the natural farming method, she was able to revive her land. So in spite of not getting rainfall, natural farming methods enable her plants to grow. And this is resilience to pests. And then we have a very special intervention for all the farmers, but specifically for landless farm workers. And that is the homestead gardens. 12 to 18 different kinds of vegetables are taken up by them. Then I just spent a couple of minutes on the water vapor harvested for irrigation. In tropical countries, water in the air is up to 50,000 parts per million. That means the water in the air is around all the water in the rivers 10 times that. So we thought, can we harness a few drops every day for our plants? And regenerative agriculture actually enables us to do that. We started this experiment in 2018 with just 11 farmers, and now close to 600,000 farmers are enrolled in this. And as you can see here, so this is called pre-monsoon dry sowing. Monsoon starts in middle of June. So prior to that, for about 45 days, 60 days, when typically the land is barren, our farmers are able to take these crops. Then we went one step ahead. Why only 45 days, 60 days? Can we get this kind of income 365 days of the year? So this again started in 2020 with 100 farmers in one district. And this district, Anantapuram, is a semi-arid district with very low rainfalls and droughts every year, 400 to 500 millimeter rainfall. So our plan was, can we increase the incomes of farmers 3 to 5 times, not 10%, 20%, but 300 to 500%. So that they should get income, not only higher income, but also income throughout the year, not bullet income, bullet revenues, once a year, twice a year. No. We want farmers to earn money every week, every fortnight, every month. So as you can see, we have a different cropping pattern depending on the type of soils, depending on the rainfall, temperature, etc. But we want crops throughout the year. So the seed pelleting, the regenerative agriculture methods, they all help. This is a case study of one farmer. You can see her field in the month of May, no rainfall, and rest of the fields are all barren. This is a crop she was able to take in February. And this is an important slide. Of course, this is for 11 months. This is her income every month. And as you can see, she gets income every month and from 13, 14 crops. So this is true resilience, that every field becomes resilient. And so we now have a different paradigm for water. That means crops are not only consuming water, but following natural farming, following regenerative agriculture, crops can generate water, create new water. And now, how do we scale up? And I believe very strongly the agriculture technology is only 10 to 15% of the solution. The rest is how do you prepare the communities? And our success is basically because of our women self-help groups. We started organizing them about 23 years ago from the year 2000. And 90% women in rural Andhra Pradesh are organized into self-help groups, their federations, first level, second level, third level federations. Then we have a very unique extension system. And we have a long-term policy of hand-holding and collaboration. But most important, state government leads this program. So you can see here, women, close to 2 million women in our villages are involved in this. And so 200,000 SHGs. So they are the ones, they are the heroes of my program, it's their program. And then our extension system is also very unique. It is not top-down extension. The extension is by champion farmers. So best practicing farmers are the ones who can bring about behavior change in other farmers. So we started with such 600 to 700 such best practicing farmers. Now we have 10,000 such champion farmers. Then we have ICT. Yeah, so this is an important slide. It shows that if we go to a village, we are there for 8 to 10 years. Typical village, 450 farmers. So it takes some time for farmers to get convinced and join in the process. And an individual farmer also takes time. So that's why I assume 4 to 5 years. So as a support organization, we believe we should be present for 8 to 10 years in every village till every farmer has completed this journey of transformation. We have research collaborations with many international organizations. And as I mentioned, Walter Yana is the one who inspired us, an Australian climate scientist, who inspired us to think of this crazy idea of harnessing water from the air. Then we have national research organizations. And then with the German government support, we have started the Indo-German Global Academy for Agroecology Research and Learning. It has multiple purposes. It's a 20 million grant from Government of Germany. We have, collaborative research on important topics. But I just want to highlight that we are also using the academy to develop farmer scientists. If farmers can be trainers, I believe very strongly that farmers can be and should be scientists. So our idea is to train a farmer from every village to become a farmer scientist. We just started this program. It's a program for 4 years. So it's not just to get a degree, but in this 4 years, the farmer scientist becomes a model farmer. She should create a farm which enables her to earn 3 to 5 times incomes. She also becomes a good trainer. So her job is also to develop about 50 farmers and make them into champion farmers. And then develop a climate resilient village plan and catalyze entire village to become a climate resilient village. There are some videos, but on want of time, I will not be able to play. But if you have time, you please see these 3 videos which capture our success based on harnessing water from the air. And this is the last slide. It just shows that if we follow natural farming, if we keep the ground covered with plants, we can also cool the planet safely and quickly. And that's why it's so relevant to the training program of Naturland, because I think for climate emergency, we have to have a solution which is very effective, which can give results in a very short period of time. So I'll close this with a quotation. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So thank you for your attention. And if there are questions, then I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. There was a question from Vietnam, really technical, about the seed coating with cow dung and manure, because there had been a question if there's a risk and danger if you use manure that may be not sterilized to infect with the seeds with bacteria. Okay.
No problem like that. Otherwise, hundreds of thousands of farmers will not be using it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, then there are there other questions to you? I have one question, because you talked about this process, and I'm that you guide or the communities. What are the most what are the common challenges that farmers face when they try to convert to natural farming? Is it about convincing them, or what are the specific challenges that you face every other year?
The only challenge is the mindset. So it's gone into our DNA that chemicals are required. So that chemicals are affecting our brain, not allowing us to see that Mother Nature didn't design it like that. And so this chemical in the brain problem is not only with the farmers, it's a bigger problem with the scientists, with the agriculture department. So that is the most serious problem. The second is they somehow have been, fed on the myth that the yields will fall. And therefore they should get a premium price. So our experience shows that if done properly, yields do not fall in the first season itself. And we have a study done by University of Reading, who did for 3 seasons, that has been published. So they did this study, and recently only it's been published. So they found that natural farming based crops were able to outperform in yields. And our farmers are telling us. So this is one more myth, that the yields go down. Second is another myth, that's very difficult to prepare these inputs. And like one of the questions from our Vietnamese friend, that but these are traditional methods, they have been there in India for hundreds of years, thousands of years. But traditionally, our people used lot of this manure. So typically they would use about 15-20 tons of such manure for 1 hectare. But in our case, we are not using it as biofertilizers. We are using it as a biostimulant. So I need only 5%. So it's only 1 ton. So then when farmers realize that, this is not such an effort, then they readily adopt. But our advantage is the impetus for change comes from the women. Because we have a very strong network of women self-help groups. As I mentioned, more than 9 million women in the rural areas are part of the self-help groups. And I led that movement for 10 years, from 2000 to 2010. So I organized around 11.5 million women, rural women, into these networks. So that foundation is helping me now. So these women, because they have been told in the group, they are highly motivated, they go and convince their husbands. In fact, the other day, a woman was telling me it took her 3 years to convince her husband.
Most difficult one.
Yeah. So, and she said finally, the husband told her that she was right. And because what they did was, they had 2 acres of land. So 1 acre the husband did with chemical agriculture. 1 acre she did following the natural farming. So 3rd year he realized that his crop is less, yield was less, higher cost, and his wife has done much better. So of course, 2nd year he was afraid to admit it, but 3rd year he had to admit. So this takes time. The within the family, between father and son. So the son wants to change, father doesn't want to change. So therefore, we have two mechanisms for that. One, the women's self-help group is a very powerful mechanism to convince the husband, convince members, and also to finance the transition. We are not financing the transition. They are financing the transition. The secondly, the champion farmer, she actually tells them that, the yields will not fall. So she's also a family counselor, but she proves it on ground. So all my champion farmers, they have to have lands in the village. They should grow that crop, the main crop in the village. So other farmers learn from them. So it's not theory. Somebody is reading something in the book and then telling them to do X, Y, Z. No. My farmer trainer, she herself leads by setting up a model farm.
Mm-hmm.
So if she gives wrong advice, she is in the village, so she is accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the government system, what happens is the government agriculture department gives advice without knowing whether the advice is correct or not. So by chance, the advice works, the credit goes to the department. If it doesn't work, they blame the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
here
see.
it's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. There are some other questions, and before getting back to some technical, there had been two more general. First of all, there's a question if there is any experience with natural farming from other parts of India.
Yes.
With different ecological conditions.
In every state in India, there are farmers who are practicing natural farming. Mm-hmm. But in Andhra Pradesh, we have actually articulated them very systematically into these 9 principles. We are the only ones who are exploiting the natural farming and water connection. Mm-hmm. Only ones in the world, actually. Nobody else is doing it.
So this may be a link to the next question. If there's a specific or particular difference between natural farming versus regenerative agriculture?
No difference. Same belief that all the nutrients required are there in the soil, in the air and water. Air has 78% nitrogen. Why do you add urea? That is ridiculous. So regenerative agriculture, natural farming, one and the same. Okay. It's just that in India, natural farming is is used, but otherwise it's one and the same.
Then there are some technical questions coming back to this seedling stuff. Somebody would like to know if you use fresh cow dung or dry, and if this have scorching effects on these seeds.
No. So you see, the soil amendment inoculum we mentioned. So fresh cow dung is used. So fresh cow dung is very essential. The cow urine can be aged, but cow dung must be fresh. That's important.
Okay. And then there's a question about labor, amount of labor. So about weed management, is labor availability an issue? If you can.
Okay. This is a common question I get. So, we do a survey in our socioeconomic assessment. We are looking at family labor and hired labor, and over different stages of the production of the crop. So we find, yes, in some cases, the labor required is more, but in a country like India, since there is rural unemployment, it's a good thing. But what is very important is that lady whose slides I showed, who is growing the vegetables. Now, you see what happens in natural farming is, when we follow all the principles, have crop biodiversity, have crops throughout the year, first of all, the ploughing cost get eliminated. No ploughing required. There is no weeding required. There is no irrigation required. There is no application of pesticides. So once the soil improves, once the farmer's expertise in this farming increases, virtually all costs are eliminated. You sow the seed, you apply the inoculum at once in 10 days, 15 days, and then you harvest the crop. How difficult is that?
I see. Yeah. So then we have one.
I just want to say what natural farming is doing is, it is making the microbes, the bacteria, the fungi, the earthworms, millipedes, they are working for the farmer free of cost. Yeah. So once they are working, why do you need to work?
Yeah, we'll come to this later as well, I guess, regarding biodiversity. There's one question, how about your experience or how your natural farming methods can be used in irrigated lands, mostly used for sugarcane, for example, in India. Do you have experience or knowledge on that?
Yes, it works very well. In fact, as I showed you in my slide, water requirement for paddy rice comes down by 50%. You need to irrigate less frequently because the soils are holding on to the moisture, and the also harnessing water from the air is reducing the water demand. And sugarcane also, what we do in sugarcane is we increase the spacing and then take intercrops for the first 5 months, 6 months. And then when it becomes too tall, and then the number of tillers increases. So therefore, the farmers need less water. They also recover their costs from the intercrops. And so, yes, we have very good results from irrigation. In fact, even in paddy, we have a new innovation. We are growing intercrops in paddy for the first 60 days. So we have pelleted seeds for paddy, no seedling business. This is an innovation. Hopefully by next year, I'll be able to, if you invite me again, I'll be able to show the paddy example. So we have paddy seeds, dibbled, pelleted, so that we take full advantage of the monsoon. And for the first 60 days, you can actually take green leafy manure, green leafy vegetables, other vegetables, some pulses, and then 70 to 130, 150 days, then the plant grows even more luxuriantly under these conditions. So very little water is required.
I have two more questions. One is coming from India, I guess. What is the method of moisture harnessing from air in small holdings?
Every holding can do that. It's not small or big. It is how you are managing soil biology. And following those 9 principles, you keep the ground covered, have living plants, have crop biodiversity, and then plants automatically. You see, what happens is, following natural farming, the leaves are more hygroscopic. If you are using chemical fertilizers, the leaves are hydrophobic. They are repelling water. In the case of natural farming, the cytoplasm is very thick and it is harnessing water. If you go to a desert, you see how are cacti, xerophytes surviving. There's no rainfall there. So they're surviving by, they'll have thorns, they have hair. So all that is enabling them to draw this water from the air. We are following the same principle. In forest, who is irrigating the trees? They're getting water. So I think the biggest problem is in our mind, we have decided, we need heavy amounts of fertilizer, pesticides, hybrid seeds, GMO seeds. We need to put more water, more pesticides. So it's there, gone into our minds. So only when we, get rid of that, think as to how Mother Nature fixed it, then we may have a different pathway.
Thank you so much. I think this is a good closure. I have just one question left that's regarding your slides. People ask if they can not only use it, but also share it with their communities to discuss on that and to share experience.
No, most welcome, because you see the crisis we are facing is so disastrous. It is, basic, our own survival is at question. So my desire, I would be very, very happy if you can share with your communities and, take knowledge to everybody. Absolutely no problem. Good. In fact, people want more assistance, more knowledge, they can write to us. Absolutely no problem. Idea is, it's not enough if I do it in Andhra Pradesh. Everybody has to do it.
Yeah. So
otherwise, even my effort will go waste.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. This was very interesting and inspiring, and I think you do great work. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us.